Hi, and welcome to this new GED Express screencast with me, Teacher Marco. And today I have prepared a few tips for you on how to pass the GED Social Studies test. And before we start, I would like to encourage you to hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to share this video because it is our aim to help out people who are in need of help in passing the GED Social Studies test. So please don't forget to share this video and put a thumbs up as well. Okay, so let's begin. So how to pass the GED Social Studies test. This is a very big question for people who don't have any idea about the Social Studies test for GED. Now, I have come up with 6 simple tips that you will be able to use, and hopefully after you follow my tips, you will pass the GED Social Studies test. So let's begin. The first tip that I can give to you is that timing is essential. So the GED Social Studies test, or the GED test as a whole, is a life-changing moment for you. So you have to make sure that time is right, and you don't have to have any scheduling conflicts. So you have to make sure that the time is right. No appointments before or after the test, and make sure to allot time to focus for the test. You have to be free of distractions. So you cannot just decide to take the test on this date, but you have to consider a lot of factors. Will I be busy these days? On these dates, is it my brother's birthday? Is it my mom's my parents' wedding anniversary? So you have to take timing into consideration. So also not only for the test date, but also for the timing when you will study, or if you have like some short courses or some review program that you're enrolled to, you have to consider the dates when you will have these programs, because if you will be distracted, then it's no use. It's a waste of time and waste of money as well. All right? So let's go to the second tip. Know the trends and charts, tables, and graphs. When you're given data to interpret on the social studies test, it is because that data is being used as the basis for a conclusion. So typically, when you see a line graph, it shows changes over time, while a bar graph helps you draw comparisons, right? And be sure to read any and all titles and labels. So that's very important. All right, you might misinterpret which one is being discussed, or which is pertaining to the Y plane or the X plane. You must be able to know the labels. Okay. Try to summarize the results for yourself in your head before moving on to the question. Don't assume. That's the biggest sin in taking the social studies test. All right. For example, a line graph that gets smaller from left to right would indicate that the y-axis and the x-axis have an indirect relationship. because as the value of y grows, the value of x shrinks. So ask yourself, what is this data supposed to show me? That's the most important question before you go ahead and answer or provide answer to the test question. So ask yourself, what is this data supposed to show me? Okay. My third tip is for you to remove choices that are contradicted by the given information first. So this applies for multiple choice questions. So it is normal. It's usually at least one, if not two, of the 5 answer choices will be opposite of what is presented to you in the short passages or in the accompanying data. So the first thing that you should do, or the first approach for a multiple choice question, is to get rid of those opposite options, right, or contradicting options, right? Again, this applies for multiple choice questions. All right, get rid of those choices. Of course, this is a process of elimination. We cannot just assume an answer. The chances are, if you automatically choose an answer, is that there are high options, so that there are high chances that you will not get the correct answer. But if you eliminate those contradicting choices, then there will be higher chance for you to get the correct answer, right? So it's better to have a 50-50 chance than no chance at all. Remember that. Next is familiarize yourself with economics vocabulary. So you don't have to have already taken an economics course to pass the GED social studies test, but since economics questions account for 20% of the social studies test questions, it is a good idea to get comfortable with some of the basic terminology and concepts. So an example of this is that, let me show you a question. So there would be a graph with the data on forecast and actual growth of a product based on supply and demand over the span of 5 years. So imagine there's a graph with growth of a product based on supply and demand. If you are not already comfortable with the concepts of supply and demand, it would be more intimidating for you to interpret the graph. So options first, so you can carefully hone in on the stronger possibilities. So what you have to do is to just be familiar with the basic terminologies. You don't have to be an expert in economics, but it would be good to know the meaning of these simple terms. So usually if you have an economics book or a GED test preparation book, like I highly recommend you to grab a copy of the Macro Hill test preparation book for GED. There will be some terminologies highlighted in the economics section, and you have to familiarize with those vocabularies at least before taking the test. All right. The fifth tip is don't worry about what you don't know. The term itself, social studies, is usually interpreted to mean American and world history, but also broadly covers geography, economics, politics, and government, environmental science, and contemporary global issues. So you can prepare for a social studies test by reviewing basic history, but more than half of the questions will ask specifically about graphics or graphics with accompanying text. So study what is presented to you carefully. You don't have to worry if the topic is challenging or unfamiliar to you. So all you need to know is to get the right answer on the page. All right? Most of the time, the answers are within the text, accompanying text, or the data being presented to you. Don't worry too much about what you don't know. Don't be intimidated once you see a question where you're not familiar with. Don't give up when you haven't tried yet. So always read the questions completely. Okay? All right. So don't give up just because you saw a terminology that you don't know. Okay. And lastly, and I think the most important tip is cause and effect counts more than dates and names. One myth about social studies is that, oh, I have to be familiar about the dates and the names of this particular place or the names of this person. Well, it's important, but what counts more is to know the cause and effect, analyzing the data being presented to you. So if history is not your strong suit and you're brushing up on your knowledge of war, social upheaval, and other major events in American or world history, don't worry about memorizing dates and names. You will not be required to know the specific years of major conflicts, although having a general sense of what caused these conflicts and what were the major results will be very helpful. Try to absorb history from a big picture perspective and ignore all the tiny details. When I say ignore, it's not a negative word like you have to forget everything, but what I'm saying is that you don't have to give your 100% in memorizing, but instead learn how to understand. All right? It's not what to know, but it's how to know it. All right? So these 6 simple tips, I think, are the most important before you take the GED Social Studies test. I hope that I was able to help you today. And if you're interested in learning more about GED and what is Phuket PALS, please don't forget to check out on the other videos on this channel and visit our Facebook page at Phuket PALS, facebook.com/Phuket PALS. All right, and you will be able to see a lot of free materials and things that can help you pass your GED test. All right, thank you for your time today, and have a nice day ahead. Bye-bye.